Hello and welcome to another video from In3D Software. Today I want to talk about decorative wooden mouldings and how we can apply these to our articles as parts that are then included within the 3D model. Now we can set these up to be parametric as well if need be, so if you follow the video along you should be able to see how we can incorporate these into the design. So the first thing that I want to do is go into a top view, and then I'm going to quickly draw a polyline that starts from my 0, 0 point, and that's going to be 50 mil up, and then I want it to be 50 mil out, and from here I'm then going to come up 25 mil, and I'm just going to make a very simple detail like this. And then what I want to do is say that this entire shape should now be revolved around that line, and I want the angle to be 180 degrees. So I now have this shape. I'm going to rotate it in 3D about this point and say that this should sit upright, and it should also rotate around this point as well, so that it's facing the front. Okay, so I now have this shape in here, and then the next thing that I want to do is save this. So I'm going to save as, and I'm going to save this into my library under purchase DWG, and I'm going to call this for something very simple, half round bot. I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to mirror it and rotate it around that point again to then say that this is save as half round top. Okay. The next thing I want to do is get this circle, and I'm going to say from here to here. I'm going to move that back up to my 0, 0 point. So I'll take my center point and say that that should be 0, 0, 0. And then I can draw a line that bisects this. I'm then going to go in and use a circle to then come in and do a diameter of 4. And then what I want to do is an array of this around a polar point, center, and I want the items to number 20. This looks okay. Then I'll do a bpoly command, pick my middle point, and I now have this detail. Okay, the next thing I want to do is just double check my dimensions. So I'm going to say in here that I want this radius dimension, and that is 27.5. Okay, so now I want to do an extrude, and I'm going to pull that up and say that that should be 100 mil, 1000 mil. Then I'm going to save as and call this half round. Now what I want to do is, now that I've made my 3 pieces of timber or wood or decorative moulding or whatever you call these things, and I want to combine them together. So what I'm going to do is come into my product and say article designer in here. This is going to be a height of 2 meters, width 500 by 500. This is fine. And then in here, what I want is a linear division, and I'm going to say that that should be 100 mil to 100 mil. And then in here on my sections, I want this to be for now, just an adder panel. And what I'm going to do actually in here is just copy that and take it out and then divide the depth with a partition and say 100 mil to 1. So I now have a 100 by 100 zone. I can then, in the back of that zone, put my part back in. And then in this zone, what I want to do is come in and divide this virtually into 3 zones. So say 100 to 1, 100 mil to 1 to 100 mil. And then in here, let's change that initial depth up here to be 50 mil, I think, because it was halfway. There we go. What I want to do now is go to my zone at the top here and put in my purchased element. So I'll say that this is a DWG file, and in here, the date modified, I should have half round top, which I want to be in this zone, and then in the bottom of I want that to also be a zone with DWG half round bottom. Now currently this is saying extend, and if I was to put the visualization up and just click tick, you can see what that's done is it's sort of stretched that down, and that's not really what I wanted to do. If I go back to half round top and open this up, and open up here, you can see that I have my initial radius of 100 mil, and then I have my distance in here. I think from memory I did 50 mil. So if I go back to my settings, I can then say modify, and I want my divider in here to be 50 mil as well. If I put on the visualization tool, you can see it's brought that through. Now currently this is red because I've not applied any material to it, but I've got my half round and then I've got my half round. So then what I want to do is come into my middle section. Let's change the height of this as well. Let's bring that down to be 200 so that we can kind of see everything all in one go. In here, I now need my middle section in here. So I'm going to come into the center section here, and I want to then divide this up left to right first. And I'm going to say 1 to 27.5 millimeters to 1. And that will now give me my middle section. And that is, where's my round top? So that's my radius. So I need this to be my overall, which is coming out. So that would be 55 mil. We can confirm with a diameter measurement. And if we go back into here, I can say modify, choose this, and then go to my center section. So that would be 55 mil. There we go, that's better. And then in the center of that section, I then want to divide the depth to be 1 to 27. And then in here, we're dividing the depth. So we can see now in here I've got my zone at the back where I can now put in my DWG file, and it should also extend, and I'm going to call this round top. Okay, so now parametrically we can stretch this and say that that should come up, and then in here we can modify our product, and then in here say top, bottom, left and right. We'd want our trim in here for our panel to be mitered, no doubt. And then we'll say that this should be long to our top and long to our bottom. And then in here what we're going to do is copy the entire zone into the other one and paste. And then in the center section in here we then need top, bottom and a back of some sort. We can then choose a different back. And in here we want to go to our zone and bring this in 100 mil. So we'll say that we want a zone inset of 100. And the same with the top and the bottom. Okay. Nice. Now what we can do is go to our round top and apply finishes to this. So I'm going to make this a painted finish, let's say. So I want to go to my material browser, and instead of global in here, I'm going to just choose some sort of finish. So let's go to paint, choose black paint on that. We'll go to the half round bottom. And obviously we can make all sorts of alterations to the designs. Now when we bring this in, we can refresh our blocks. And we've got now our finished